Alfa Romeo's Fast Sport Saloon remains one of the most engaging and entertaining cars on sale. To the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio then, launched in 2017, very mildly revised in the spring of 2024, and still among the best sports saloons on sale. Few car makers inspire such unwavering loyalty and enthusiasm from those who purchase their products as Alfa Romeo, and fewer have been so guilty of taking such passion for granted in the recent past. There have been a procession of plain-handling Alfas, continuing to this day, in the form of the latest Tonale crossover. But in among the range, all still lies one of the most entertaining cars launched in the past decade. The Giulia Quadrifoglio, essentially an Alfa Romeo Giulia with everything turned up to 11, is a brilliant handling, fine riding, accelerative, and responsive sports saloon of the best kind. Good enough to compete, perhaps still beat, the BMW M3 and Mercedes-AMG C63. Alfa says the Giulia will be all-electric by 2027, so the Giulia Quadrifoglio might be the high point on which its ICE cars leave us. Design and styling. The Alfa Giulia is certainly a relatively light, advanced and powerful saloon offering the kind of material construction, suspension technology and powertrain sophistication that not only brought the Quadrifoglio into the compact executive super saloon segment in a particularly strong position, but which has allowed it to remain competitive with its German rivals for years thereafter. There's an argument that, given a Mercedes-AMG C63 is no longer V8 powered, the Giulia is more competitive than ever. The car's underbody construction is predominantly steel, with aluminium and composites used in places to save weight. All Giulias have aluminium suspension arms and subframes, cast aluminium suspension towers, aluminium doors and wings, and a carbon fiber driveshaft. Interior 8. There was a time when you would have expected an Alfa Romeo to have an idiosyncratic driving position, partly due to the swap to right-hand drive, and partly due to Alfa not thinking hard enough about such things. No such dramas today. The Giulia seating position is straight and can be near or far and low or high. It has a perfectly sighted steering wheel of brilliant size and girth, and which extends further than that of any rival. It's even pretty round, by the standards of the class. If you're looking for the last word in infotainment and connectivity, you'll not find it here, but as time goes on that bothers us less. There's a modest-sized touchscreen with an additional tunnel-mounted rotary controller, which talks to smartphones, has navigation and messaging and hands-free calling, and, honestly, what more do you need? The heating and ventilation dials are straightforward too. There are fewer features and lower quality graphics than in the latest particularly German opposition. Somehow, though, not too much of that matters. That looks and feels like the real deal, with quality leather and stitching, but there are some retrograde plastics masquerading as metals too, which gives the air of an interior from half a decade ago if you're comparing it to the latest German Solidity. A cliched finding, perhaps, but still true. Rear accommodation is acceptable, and this is a Giulia Quadrifoglio, so you can live with the fact it's not better. Engines and performance. There's a reason that the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio's interior foibles seem as petty as they are, and it's to do with the way the car drives. The V6 fires to a purposeful, if not spiteful, idle, with the impression that air is being moved around in gruff amounts. It's no MV8, but neither is AMG's latest offering. So notch up another win for this old stager. If you twist the D and A drive mode selector to D for dynamic, it increases the exhaust woofle, sharpens the throttle response, and affects which gear the transmission opts to put itself in. On part throttle, mind, there's an occasional hesitancy. Sometimes it gives you more than you ask, sometimes less, but it's very slight, and only just enough to prick your consciousness. The 8-speed auto's movements are nicely matched, although at anything more than a gentle cruise, we found we wanted to take charge ourselves via the column-mounted shift paddles. Do so and the Alfa fairly flies. In our 2017 road test, in good perfect conditions and on new tires it hit 60 miles per hour from rest in under 4 seconds. As a two-way average, with 2 people aboard and fully fueled, there's still nothing wrong with the 4.5 sec the car returned in our hands. It's unlikely the extra 10 bhp added at the start of 2024 will make much difference. Turbo lag becomes negligible once you have 3,000 revolutions per minute or so wound on, and the V6 runs to a soulful 7,300 revolutions per minute with a noise that's smoother than V8 South and more engaging than BMW's straight 6. Its gearbox operates with greater smoothness than that in most alternatives too. The Giulia mooches through gears with the ease of a tight torque converter auto and is arguably better for it. It also stops well, even on worn P0 courses and in the wet, although brake pedal feel as you come to a halt could be improved. Initial feel is good, as is retardation, on carbon ceramics or otherwise, but often after you stop you have to adjust pedal pressure to prevent the Giulia creeping forwards.